So, let's go. Basically, the idea is, I'm hoping that we can get a kind of regular little masterclass for thinking about research, not at the beginning before you've done stuff, but while you're actually working on assignments, and keep coming back to it, because, yeah, I like to outsource my entire life, and less time in class where we've got all that content to go through, and more time when you can get to the stuff quickly makes me happy, makes you happy, and makes people who employ you in the future happy. So these guys have offered to come and help us do that. They have the semester 2 problem for contract, so which we're basing this on for this time round. I didn't give that to you, Susie. That's right, it's a really awesomely tricky problem. You will look at it and you'll say, I'm so glad I didn't do contract this semester. That's all right, they're all in the same boat. They're going to be fine. So I'm going to hand over. I'm going to moderate. If any of you at home have questions, can I get you to just type them in, and I will keep watching out for them as much as I can. And so hand over, and thank you guys. You rock.
Thanks everyone. My name is Cassie. I'm here with Sue. We're going to go through your research assignment. Have you all had a chance to read it? Yeah, okay.
Except Susie. Thank you.
So, when you work in a firm or a legal centre, you draw from a collection of precedents and forms that have already been prepared. And as we're in a simulated work environment such as team, they don't have a collection like this. They've got a database that you can actually look at in the library catalogue. And does anyone know what this magical database is of forms and precedents? It's called the Australian Encyclopedia of Forms and Precedents. And, oh, sorry, we're going to answer.
We do.
I found the
answer. Oh, good.
Well, Dennis even gave you a link.
Yeah.
Which I think was pretty good at Dennis, actually, because his hyperlinking is not all that awesome.
So I'll just type it in.
So you're a little bit hard to hear online, Cassie. I'm going to move this microphone out a little bit, but can I ask you to use your big girl voice?
Oh, yes, I am quite softly spoken.
I'm working out hacks. I'm hoping that will be a little better. Okay, we're hearing. Okay, Jono can't hear at all.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay, I'm not quite sure. Somebody's got a radio on or something in the background. So if you're joining via the live stream, which is actually the majority of people, as it turns out, there's quite a few of you there. Can you mute? So otherwise, I'm going to mute you. So sound is good. No, I can't.
Sorry. I'm just typing in the Australian Encyclopedia of Forms and Precedents.
Yeah. It might require a login. And if we need that, I can do that.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And you've got your first result here. If we click on that.
Yeah, you're going to need a login. Sorry, just here, just sit down.
Click on the blue one below if you want. Yeah, that one.
what I'm looking at here is the heads of agreement that Dennis would have used in his assignment, assignment. So I'm just going to type in heads of agreement. Oops. And hit search. And then we've got 14 results here. So what you're looking at is for the heads of agreement for a business sale. So sale of assets.
Ooh.
So this
Or
is
maybe shares.
Unfortunately.
With that particular product. Are we saying too much? I don't know. So I actually have done a video around this part of it because people freak out about this part. But it's more about looking at what's in there and thinking about, so it was a sale, this one's a sale of shares. So, and there's a sale of shares one, but I think the sale of, the one underneath, I think, sale of, It's a little annoying, this particular one, though, because it doesn't have all that much commentary. So you might need to think a little bit more about that.
So this is one hot tip for your research assignment, guys. Next up in your assignment, it mentions a case, Eurospan, and any option. We're going to have a look at it on Jade. Has everyone signed up to Jade? Yeah, great. I'll just bring up the case here, and it's auto-filled. It auto-populates. So as you're reading Eurospan, think about how it applies to your research problem, and think about the elements of contract formation. If we go to the right-hand side to the citation report, if we scroll down, you'll see the cases cited by this decision. And what we're looking for, we've got a case that has quite a number of citations. Oops. You see over here, there's Masters and Cameron, and that's got 22 citations. And I'm pretty sure Kat has mentioned Masters and Cameron before. So we're going to have a look at Masters and Cameron in a visual sense. So remember we showed you visualizations a couple of weeks ago. If you click on the three balls, click on Precedent Tracker, and you'll see the timeline of Masters and Cameron.
So can we just stop for, sorry, just so that we're not going 7 million miles ahead. So you're thinking when you went to the case, so obviously Dennis has told us that the case he thinks might be relevant. So you're thinking going to the tracker is, if it mentions this case a lot, then chances are this case is important. Of course, because we're all contract lawyers, we look and think Masters and Cameron, that sounds familiar as well. That seems to be a pretty important case. But what is that you're thinking when you're going through the list? What drives you as you're looking at the list? What motivates you to go to the list in the first place?
Well, it's a high court case. It's got 22 citations. So, and I did look at the case beforehand, and in the catchwords it does mention Masters and Cameron as well. So it does look, it's very important.
So basically you're just looking for indications as to where the most important thing might be, and that's likely to be something that's we've got writing about somewhere else, or it's guided the law in some particular way.
Correct. Now with the precedent tracker, we'll hover over to Masters and Cameron again, and this has brought up 22 citations of it in Eurospan and any options. So it gives you the citations to masters at the paragraph level. So you can just, it'll be pinpointed directly there. So that's my little intro. I'll hand it over to Sue now. She'll explain it in a lot more in depth.
All right, guys, I don't think you asked me to speak up because I do have a very shy voice. Now, I come from a school of thought whereby we do the Socratic method, in which I will look at Matt. Matt, isn't it? Matt. I will look at Matt and say, tell me the 3 principles of masters and candidates.
I can't remember, but I know that they're there.
Okay. People online, and I want to shout out to Selena, because I was, and at my age, I want to remember names, right? I'm thinking, Matt, great. So I'm not going to jam you guys up. So be honest, do you remember the principles of masters and candidates? Thank you. That's really wonderful. No. That's okay. Now, so masters and Cameron is important, and it's so important that it actually is. It's been named. It's used as the master and Cameron principle. That's 3. Okay. And this is quite central to the research assignment that you have. If I can trouble you, Catherine, to point the camera to the whiteboard, and the guys online can see what I'm trying to say. In Masters and Cameron, it's quite a similar problem. Were the parties, did the parties have an agreement?
Pointing at you.
Don't point at me. Point at the whiteboard. Point at the whiteboard. Now,
At that one.
that whiteboard. Just more of that thing. Okay, so they can.
Sorry if I'm making you feel nauseous, you at home.
I'm not moving. I just want to get out some points. People cannot remember Masters and Cameron. So, Masters and Cameron, right? There's a case whereby Mr. Masters promised to sell some shares again. And then, I didn't execute a contract. I'm not going to be bound. I just agreed to agree. So then he got called to court. So now the thing is this, right? The court had to think about 3 things. Number 1, if you have agreed with another party, you haven't signed, but you have made all the indications that you're getting there, right? Is it enforceable? Is there a contract? And then the second thing that the High Court ruminated again on was, if you have a contract, but then you signed it, but you agree that you had to do something for the contract to be a contract, is that enforceable? So a lot of things are, when you become legal lawyers one day, you'll have to draft contracts whereby you have performance-based contracts. If I sign you, I will also give you a trade. So that's performance-based contract, right? Now the third category in Masters and Cameron, this is very important here, tip number 2. If you say to the party and say, I will agree to this subject to an agreement. So all your actions point to, you want to do something, right? There's a bargain, you're exchanging something, but then you pull out, you go, no, I don't really want to sell you my training. Can that person take you to court? So these are the 3 things you need to think about in Masters and Cameron, from Masters and Cameron into Lewis-Land. Okay, and that's why Lewis-Land actually used Masters and Cameron as a catchword, because these principles you have to think about. So number 1, and this is very important, we just go to here. Okay, we've done that. Sorry, let's see to change the screen over. That's okay, you go ahead. Okay, so people online, if you can type yes, if you understand what I'm trying to get at, is the 3 principles of Masters and Cameron. I just sloped it up all for you in about 3 minutes, right? Don't worry about that. What is more important is this, right? I'll go into Master and Cameron later. It's a bit tiny, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you guys see?
Yeah,
it's so
just
tiny.
because
Presenting it's a little tiny. There you go. Okay. First basis of the lawyer. Manual, isn't it? Yes. When you're drafting a contract, what are you trying to say? Yes. Yes. If we have a contract for an agreement, what do we have to have? and intention, correct? You have to have mutuality. Two parties. You have something, I want to buy it. You will give me something in exchange of that, and that is the bargain. Your contract is going to indicate that exchange, right? Very simple. I want to buy Chef's car. He's going to give me the car. No, it's a shitty car. It's okay. I'll buy it anyway because I'm a stunt driver for $10.
Yeah, we established the other day that Chef is actually 14, so be careful before you enter into a contract with him.
I'm always So you're going to write me a contract which indicates that bargain. We both have this intention. Jeff tells me, I will give you the car when I see the $10. That's the exchange. So back here, that's why I'm asking what form of contract. And I'm so sorry, I just realized I'm standing in front of the so you couldn't see it. Now, these are all important for your assignment. What are the terms? Now, there are a couple of red herrings in your assignment, right? So what are the terms? I will pick on you. I'll go Adam, isn't it?
Adam's one of our teachers who's sitting in here.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like not seeing the assignment.
No. So going back to that. I would have picked on people on mine. So what are the things that you need to put in the contract? You have to have the value, right? Chef's car, value, cars. What am I getting from Chef? A car. Do you mind? 1972 Chevrolet with no wheels. That's very nice. Or doors. But it's a car. $10. It has to outline who is the person giving it to me and who is giving the exchange. These are essential. It sounds childish, right? But look at your assignment. What is missing there? Okay? And then I looked at Lestrange. Anyone remember Lestrange at all? Cigarette machine.
So we haven't actually, because of the way it's we haven't specifically talked about Lestrange, but we have talked about an Australian case, New South Wales case, which has similar principle, which is the signature principle, which I always get the name wrong. It's Goodness First and Chong, not Fong. Just because my mate Lisa Fong keeps signing up to the gym and not going ahead doesn't mean that the case is about her. But yeah, Goodness First and Chong, same idea. The Strange I saw was cited just yesterday or the day before. Same kind of concept. So does anybody remember that case? Sorry, now, because I'm the one who keeps saying it wrong. So, and the principle of the case was?
Where she's signing something that she didn't read properly and then wrote it out.
What does that mean? If you sign something in
Principle was
It's showing your intent.
you sign it.
Yeah, that's right. That it is a there's an expectation by signing it that you have read.
Because otherwise, a lot of people will go, I didn't read it. No, can't enforce it. The court will be very busy. Perfect, you guys know Lestrange. I just let Lestrange got the name. Lestrange.
Yeah.
You signed it, you read it hard.
We're halfway through.
Okay.
Everybody teaches it different.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I thought you guys had covered it.
No.
Now the other thing too. Now in your assignment, Mr. What's his name? The dude that you're representing, your client,
Mr. Gelt.
Mr. Gelt.
Basil Gelt.
Basil signed it, and then it says draft, and then it says that the wife can't see this or talk to anyone. Blah blah blah. What is going on there?
Dodgy signature.
Is it? Is it really? Doesn't Lestrange go into it? You sign it, you read it. So think about that, right? There's a written signature there. So look at point 5. It's really signed. What does that mean?
So from a research point of view, what would you look at? How would you approach looking at the signature problem?
Well, I would look at tall enough thumb. So I think the last time I saw you, we talked about the full case, tall enough thumb, whereby an agent of a company signed documents, and then there was a breach, and the company goes, no, you didn't get me to sign it. You can't look at it. So you look at this thing.
So could we assume, because I have to show what's on the reading list to this point, so if
for example, you hadn't come across toll and alpha fund yet,
Mm-hmm.
because we're only in week 8.
That's fine.
So how would you, I think toll is a great case to end up with, but what kind of tips would you give for finding cases about signature?
So if you can use Jade, I'm agnostic at this point. What you want to do is you want to look at the keywords that we use, signatories, maybe directors' duties as well. You want to see law of agency, agents. If I get Susie to sign something for me, is she responsible if something goes really wrong? Because this is exactly what told me. Someone else signed something, didn't realize what was going on, and there's a breach. So you go, no problem. Well, I could blame someone. Liability has to go somewhere. So think about it. When you do research, go, oh, signature.
So can we brainstorm that a little bit? Like, what would you look for there? Because there are a couple of different issues that could arise in that space. So, Justin, what might you look for? And where would you think about looking for it if you were interested in exploring whether there was an issue around signature?
What are you saying, like which sources?
Well, we'll start, either what keywords would you use,
Oh,
but then where would you throw in?
Oh, just typing signature first.
Okay, well, let's start that. I'm not sure if people online can see you again. I'm just going to flip that
Oh,
across.
that's right. Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. You talk while we do this.
This is actually a problem I had with Jade last time. Definitely operator error. It was just getting overwhelmed by
That's a lot.
case names that include the words that I want, which is not actually what I want. I want a case name.
I think that should have worked. Yes.
So now, people remember Jake from previous times. You remember that I could say what the was, right? Because that will be very quick net for you to capture. So let's assume that the lawyers go, I don't know, we just need a case where what's that? Relevance of signature, whether it's liability. So out. So what you can do is, okay, if you do signature, we get 20,000 hits. That's the simple, right? So what you want to do is there's an agreement maybe, and there's a breach. Now, if I can just type. Okay, so at this point, I can look at it and go, I don't know which one to look at still. It's way too much. Yeah, right? So what you can do on this side, you can go, look, I want to look at agent. So now I'm narrowing it down. I want agent. Oops.
So that particular problem, you've got one person who's signed, somebody else who's signed it as a witness. The document says it's a draft. The other party hasn't signed it yet. Does that matter? So how do you unpack that? I guess that's what I'm asking you to think about, is how would you unpack that from a research point of view? Again, I'm not expecting you to explore areas that we haven't actually covered in class yet, in the sense of, the general topic headings. I'm not saying that we've covered everything about each topic in class, because let's face it, we're always rushing. But what I'm asking you to do is think about, well, given what you know about the broad principles, so we've got all of the formation principles, we've now dealt with those vitiating principles around formation, around formalities, capacity, etc. In those broad headings, because unlike the real world, the assignment fits within the confines of the class, where do you go to start unpacking your specific problem? So think about it that way. What kind of terms might you throw in?
So what I've done is I've started a research, and I'm not using any connectors. You're very welcome to use connectors. You know what connectors are, yes? Within 10 words, draft. Within 5 words, liability. You don't have to, Jay. With the others, I think you do have to be quite tight with it. And don't worry, you don't have to remember what connectors are because in the other services, there's actually a help guide to help you. So for example, I'll just type it there so you guys can remember. So like that means within sentence. So if I say, I want agreement, within the same sentence, I want the word signed plus draft, right? And as I'm saying this, I'm typing this for you guys online so you don't have to, I usually write on the wall. So you can use this on the other services. In Jade, you don't have to put WS. So WS, W/S is a connector, okay? Now the other connector is this too, right? W10. Oops. So, can you see that? W10 means within 10 words, I want the other words. It's a leading connector. Again, other services, you might want to use that. So just to get yourself thinking, how would you search if the net is so wide? When you say agreement, you get like 30,000 results, right? You have to be quite intelligent about this. Or you can go look, signed agreement, draft. Now you see that I keep saying liability because at the end of the day, if it's draft and it's signed and something goes wrong, who's going to be responsible? I always think like that, right? Because as lawyers, you can mitigate risk. You don't write these letters just because you feel like it. You're trying to minimize risk for your client, right? So do that. Okay. So what I want to tell you guys is this. This is a very easy way to think about research because you can keep typing. I think last time I was here, I kept saying you can keep going nuts and doing everything like that. However, if you want to break it down and be a good student, go to advanced search and break down your term. Then here you can go, look, I want a signed agreement. It's in draft. They're buying shares. Can you see now I'm trying to break it down? So it's now a little bit more methodical. Then you can always come back and play with it. So shares, and then let's say it's for cross-border, maybe. And then you go search. Now, why do I like this? I like this because two results are pretty crappy, right? So you can go back and edit the search and go, I've done something wrong. You can always go back. Whereas in the idiot box, you get lost, right? And you forget, you go, oh, where was I? Okay. So when searching, go wide and come back. Now, remember when you were doing this few contracts, you have all these really, you think, oh, such basic terms, express terms and essential terms. They actually are the catchwords used by courts, right? So you can even go essential terms. So this is when you're really, really stuck. And you go, I have no idea what to do. Let's say you know nothing about toll. You know nothing, can't remember a word about Masters in Canada. Let's just say you've got amnesia. Just because of that, right? So you can go here and go catchwords, get everything out, and go find it. Did I spell it right?
Yeah, no.
No. If I spell it right, I'll be right. Why didn't you guys say anything? So, you all know what catchwords are, yeah? It's all the words, the topic catchwords which come from the court. You can't go wrong, because the courts are not very creative. And there's a breach, you usually get central terms right up there. Breach of terms, express terms. You won't go, you can't go far. If you get stuck. It's a really bad way of using materials, but you know, can get there. Now, I promised to look at Masters in Neurisman. Well, my colleague looked at Neurisman, but I really want to look at Masters in Canada because Neurisman mentions it, as Cassie said. So let me show you where it's. Right. This is what I mean by catchwords. These are the catchwords here. La la. See? As I said, not very creative. And then guess what? Masters categories and Masters in Cameron. Did we talk about these categories before on the whiteboard? So really, you know, okay, that's a really good tip there. So Catherine's been really good to you guys. You need to worship her, the God that she is. I didn't say goddess, I said God. Non-gender specific. It's already there. So immediately you think, okay, I need to look at Masters in Cameron and test those principles itself. So let's go to Masters in Cameron, which is really ugly. I'm going to take that away. You don't need to look at how ugly it is. That's not important for you at this point in time. More importantly is that you want to know, why is this case relevant? This is a case from when? 1954, and it's still being referred to, right? What's going on in law that we still go back in time that far? Because it's still good law. What do I mean by good law? Good law is when you have principles which actually stand in itself. You can look at that and go, oh, I understand now. What is agreeing to agree? When are you bound to a contract? Okay? And the judge actually goes through that step by step. And I'm not saying you should read the whole thing, because I know you all have lives. So, revision, guys. When I was here last time, remember I said clips? Probably not too bad. Remember clips? Clips. Okay, clips mean that it's been referred to by present day after 1954, right? Daniel, do you know what clips are? You were a bit lost. So let's refresh for Daniel. Jeff, what is clips?
You can just click on to see where the other citation would be.
Which paragraph is most important?
Yeah.
Remember Daniel, I said don't read the whole thing. You've got a live, right? So revision, guys. Left hand side.
Please don't listen to her. Please read the whole thing. Particularly Masters in Cameron.
Read the whole thing.
Is good. Okay? At least pretend you've read the whole thing to make me feel better about my contribution to your academic lives.
Read Masters in Cameron. When you practice, when you become a policy advisor, research assistant, an associate, when you get out there, when you graduate with your black robe, you have to remember Masters in Cameron. Okay? It has to be either that or you ink it into your hand. Now, be that as it may, left hand side where the pancakes are. If you click on the pancakes, it will tell you all the pages within Masters in Cameron. So we index the page for you. Now back then, pre-1998, the judges didn't really give you headings. They just go blur and then the judgment just follows. Now the judges are very methodical. They actually give you headings. Thank goodness, because then we can actually tell you where they are. So instead of headings, we give you page numbers. Why is that important? It's important because then you can go to most cited and figure out when are those three principles being mentioned. Page 360. It's been mentioned over 300 times. Okay? So if you don't have time, and I don't encourage you guys to do this, to do your assignment one day before, right? So I've got Singaporean blood, I'm competitive, I do it 2 weeks before because I'm mad. Because I like that. So if you have to do it 2 days before, I really urge you not to do that, and you have nowhere to start, this is a fast way to go, okay, I don't know where to start reading. And you know, sometimes when you read cases, you go, I'm really lost. I don't know, who's the appellant? Do you ever get that? When you read the case, who's the plaintiff? Why don't they just call each other their first names? Why do they call themselves respondents and appellants? Oh my God, and you get lost and you panic. This way, you can go, okay, I have to stop panicking. This way, I can look at this and go, okay. So really lay it out for me. Look at page 360, and you can see what the justice said on 360, which actually covers those three.
We had a question here. What did you click after you hit the pancake to get the number of citations?
Okay, so I go to refresh. I go to pancake, and then what will happen is the index will open, most cited. So again, guys, this does not give you a whole pass not to read the case. This gives you a whole pass to do very well in the assignment. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing you need to look at is this. Now, this is a case in 1954. You can keep referring to this until you pass out. However, it's good for your assignment to actually bring it to the present day as well. And how do you do that? Right? So
How do you do that?
how do you do that? Because you can go to court, it goes, Your Honour, in Masters and Cameron, page 360, Justice, who's the Justice actually? I don't remember. Who's the Justice?
I don't know. I won't say Barwick, but
No, it's not Barwick.
it's not Barwick.
Not sure,
It's not to say Barwick. It's like
someone.
Should read the case entirely.
I know, right?
I probably should, shouldn't I?
You're gonna go back to the stand.
In fact, I can't read. I find this one really annoying to read. I want to go back to the actual scan.
We've scanned it really badly. I actually read mine on, tip for you, I read mine on paper because I'm old-fashioned. I print it off Thomson Reuters and I read it, but I use the flags here because I find the flags easy. I just sort of go, okay, this is where it is. Now, what was I saying? So if you go to court and say, Your Honour, page 360, Justice X said this. One of the things that would be questioned would be, good for you. Present day, you're seeing in Supreme Court here, has it been used here? And it doesn't look good for your career, you just stuck to this, right? So, how do you find out where Masters can be referred to present day? So, next to the pancakes are a set of meatballs. Click on the meatballs. Go to the second option. Now, the second option gives you a timeline of Masters and Cameron as an authority. There you are, Masters and Cameron, 1954. Okay, see? To the right of Masters and Cameron is basically the 50 years which follows. Okay, and to see if it's a good authority, look at how many balls there are. How many cases actually refer to Masters and Cameron? Now, if I hover on this, have you guys done Franklin's and Metcalfe yet? No. Have you guys done Singh? No.
We don't do very much.
Have you done Royal Botanic Gardens?
No, I should read English. I'm not
I'm sure you
I'm
have.
actually focused on it though.
But what I'm trying to show you is that from here you can go, okay, purple balls mean appellate jurisdiction, right? And then blue ones are the first instance. Now, why is it important to actually spread them all out like this? Why don't you just lump it at one big cake in this purple, blue, hippie color? Because every single time it's referred to in any jurisdiction, there's something going on that the principles being challenged. Those three principles are being asked. Where does it come up? Think about it. If a case goes to a appellate level, that means something's gone wrong there. Right? So to your right is the future. So going back to your assignment, right? So you might want to look at Masters and Cameron, which are getting marks, but extra marks is you would look at other authorities as well. I can't say too much here because, but the green ones are good for you. And when you look at cases, don't just put in your assignment, yeah, well, Sue said Fortescue metals, yay. Well, bring it back. How did Fortescue metals refer to Masters and Cameron? What did the justice say in there about those principles? And how the principles then relate to your problem is signed and drafted. Always go back and point. Okay, you don't get top marks by saying it's there. It's there where? And you know what I mean by where? The page, the paragraph, and the clips. So, remember my tip to you guys, print out Masters and Cameron, have it in hard copy, and use this as a clip guide. Now, I want to show you.
I can't deal with the idea of printed out cases. It's like it just doesn't work for me at all.
I know, I'm really old-fashioned actually. We scanned it because of the National Library Archive as a project. Now, Dan, you weren't here to see the clips. So what the clips are basically, find them for you.
One of the things, actually, while you're doing clips, one of the things I was hoping that you would show people is how they can create their own clips, or why they might create their own clips,
Sure.
particularly if you're collaborating with somebody else on something.
Okay, sure. So, Dan, just for you, and also for people online, I can't remember what clips were, you were asleep last time. The clips indicate that we have found there are two cases which refer to paragraph 97, 26. That's what we mean by clips. Yeah. Okay, so as you were saying, okay, Jade has created clips for me. That's perfect. But if you're you want to annotate as you go, you can go look. Paragraph 97 is great. I'm going to actually put my own clip, so I add the Jade mark, and I'm going to. Okay. Now, clips are great because you can then start typing what you're reading. If you're one person, a person who reads and types, that's a really free option to take. Now, tip for you guys: do you know what liquid text is? It's a PDF converter in which when you read something and you want to take that, put down notes, it basically produces notes in PDF into little chunks. It's only like $3 as that. Really good way to have. So if you download a PDF and you want to annotate, so remember that. A lot of lawyers use that. And it's $3. Now,
Sorry, what was it called?
liquid text. Liquid text. The Evernote PDF annotator as well does a similar thing.
Yeah.
I think that's called Speech, which that only works on iDevices, sadly, as I found moving to the surface. It's that's kind of neat to have those.
now this way you can go, look, I'm doing this research for my Neurisvan assignment, right? So I'm typing in Neurisvan. So that's my tag. Can you see it here? I've now got a little flag which is mine. That's my tag. So as you're reading, if you have someone like that who puts notes as you're reading, say, oh, this paragraph is great, you can imagine, like, that little flag over here that you created is your post-it note on your screen. So let's say you've been doing a lot of, tagging. You look at that and go, yep, that's the paragraph I need to look at as well. Please refer to this. And then I go Neurisvan again. Right.
One of the things I've done myself is, see that you've got your little private Dropbox down there. I've created groups for different things. So I have a fundamentals of contract law group with all the cases and all the bits in it, which I probably should share with you guys, but that's actually quite hard to do because of the way getting email addresses for a whole class works here. It's quite difficult. But it's when you're working with somebody else on a group assignment, being able to set up a group in Jade, being able to put all the cases with your shared notes in one place is really quite useful.
Yeah. So that's my 2 flags now. So let's say I've finished with this, I can't read anymore, my brain hurts. So what you can do is you go, look, I'm shutting down my machine, I'm coming back tomorrow, but remember I've created a post-it note tag, Neurisvan, haven't I? So you go find Neurisvan. Look at that tag, colon, Neurisvan, that's me. So you can then look at your own.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. I should tag all my cases.
Yeah, Jade browser, Jade marks, and I do tag a lot. Ta-da! They're going to see what I've been doing, and you can export that. If you are a typing person, you annotate as you go. Over to you guys.
Well, for pinpointing your references, if you're actually taking things that you're going to quote or that you want to do pinpoints for, that could be quite a useful way for you to just record that information as you go for going back and doing the pinpoints. Particularly as Jade, for most of the cases anyway, you can go back and work out what page it is. Just so you can be AGLC compliant, which is good. Doesn't make it any easier for me to find your citation, sadly, which is the really annoying thing about it, because you would think a citation is there to help somebody else who's reading it find the thing that you were citing, but because you have to do it to the pinpoint, it makes that a little bit more difficult.
No, okay. To your point,
you can close that group chat if you want to.
Okay,
and because I can see it here, it's
So
fine.
just to hammer the point of the pinpointing, because as I said, if you write anything, you have to point to the paragraph. You can't just say, oh, it's tall and alpha bound because I said so. Massive fail, right? No one will mark you for that. So how do you do that? Remember the pancakes? The pancakes expand the index. Look at that, voila. So what's different now? Masters and Cameron was in 1954, Toll Alpha Farm 2004. The judges are now giving you headings. This is what I mean, and we code. So when you look at that, you can go, oh, yeah, I want to look at the distribution agreements. Look at this. 2 cases refer to that small paragraph. Really? Something so tiny is very important. Why? Your job is to read it and dissect it. Like the clip. Remember what Catherine said about pinpointing, yeah? Pinpoint, look at that. It's done for you. So if you're lazy, you can always go, well, I actually write it in pen because I'm weird, but you can put a check mark and say, reminder, put this in paragraph 5 of my essay. And what's my newest fun essay? Done. Can you see how I'm doing? So you can come back and do it later, right? So that's a very involved way to look at clips. Again, I think I can't tell you guys too much, otherwise I'll be writing that assignment for you. But I hope
I think there's plenty of writing at the end of this assignment, whether you've got clues around the research or not. So standing back from this assignment, because the idea we're having today was we're going to use the assignment as a basis, but we're going to talk more about research just generally. Can we talk a little bit about just starting with a blank sheet of paper? Like, where do you go when you get a scary problem out of the blue? How do you start thinking about research?
well, I'll put another hat on. So when I looked at this, I wish you taught my contract class.
I'm so glad I didn't teach your contract class, but go on.
We had 40% fail in my cohort. It was that tough. We had people in tears. I had a couple of friends in tears. We didn't get.
It's all right. I can make people cry.
Well, this is a really good. Now, how did I start? So when I looked at this, the first thing I thought was, and I was actually going down a rabbit hole. I was thinking, oh, law of agency. Oh, breach. Oh, essential terms. Oh, express terms. I was just going nuts at it, right? And I did what you guys do. You just start going, oh my God, oh! You know. And then I calmed down, took my Prozac and calmed down. And then looked at, okay, what is missing? What has gone wrong? And a couple of things that I really encourage you guys to do is read the case and latch onto it like a parasite. There are only a few cases within every single topic that you have, which will inform you throughout your career. Masters in Cameron being one, Toll Alpha Farm being one. So write it down. You'll encounter these names in the days to come, right? Hospital products is another name. Write it down. You remember, that chick said that about that. Guys online, Cadelpha will always come up, right? It's been referred to 3,000 times. It sounds like a flower, it is not. It's about railways. But hey, once you have these cases, and I really urge, I sound like grandma, when you read them, as soon as you hit questions like this, you go, that is interesting. Because what you see is this, right? So when I saw this, the first thing I did was tell an alpha farm. I like that case. I don't know, flu vax and we're besties, right? So you won't go wrong anyway. What is always a breach? Someone doesn't want to do something. Someone promises to do something, refuses to do it. Someone trying that they will do something, and then they say they didn't want to do it anyway. They want to coercion to do it. It's the permutations are never that different that you don't know what contract breach is. So even if you memorize one case, it will actually guide you into your research. So when I looked at the tech paper, I actually went into Toll and Alpha Farm, which is about a signature.
Not where I would have gone.
No,
I can see why, because this is signature in there.
but it was a warm up. When you read cases, you have to warm up. You can't just jump in and go, yes, I'm clever, right? Find a case, latch onto it, it's your warm up tool, like a singer. You know, imagine that you're opera singers, you're now building your breathing capacity, your throat, and your breathing and your posture. And singers usually have one exercise that they do. Use that case to be that exercise for you, because then you start thinking, okay. And that's when I figure out, no, toe is not the way to do it. But you know what? I can always go to toe and go to the balls and go see what is in Nuristan, which is similar to toe. There was a signature. There was a breach. What were they breaching? Was it a performance condition on agreement? Was it collateral agreement? Was it beaten? It makes you think. When I say breach, you understand what I'm saying. When I say collateral terms, yeah. Essential terms, yeah. You know? So think warm up, okay? So your homework, aside from this, is to latch onto a case, hang on to the case for the next 4 or 5 years of a degree, and actually be the expert for that one case. Because as soon as you see an assignment, you can go, I'll try to contextualize as you go along.
So one of the features, I don't remember where to get to it myself, but one of the things that I know that I use a bit is taking that sort of web of cases and seeing how they're familiar. Can you? I don't think we looked at that last time.
No, I don't do that because it's a very scary tool. And if you want,
These guys are ninjas. They're like,
You
they
guys
can
are
deal with
ninjas?
scary.
Okay.
They want to know how to research, so they're given,
Well, I don't know. I mean, look at the online people. They look so bored. If I don't see this, I won't show it. Come on. Am I seeing this
put
or
your hands
not?
in the air like you just don't care.
I've got one. Michael, where's your arms?
You'll have to. She can only actually see Christy, Michael, and Ben. So the rest of you don't. Yeah, you'll be fine.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So we've got online buying. Good. All right. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. So this is a really good. So we're in toll at the moment, the flu vax case, my warm-up case. So we'll go to the bouncing ones. Now, I usually stay away from this because when I show this, people usually look at this and go, I'm so lost. I'm dying. And in fact, judicial officers will see this go, look at me and go,
What do you want?
what? What? What's going on? Seriously scared me, right? So,
Yeah.
oh, come on. It's not about the age. Don't be like that. Okay. Now, what are you? Is it Google? The balls are not bouncing. Ah, okay.
Yeah, they will.
Great. Okay. Now, one of the key things that we do, and the reason I also don't show it to students is because it is a cheat way.
I don't care what you
Okay.
do. I want you to be good lawyers.
Okay.
I want you to be writing a good paper. I don't want you to be spending too long trying to work out what the law is.
This doesn't mean you do not read the case. Yeah, no, it's not like grammar. No, but it's similar.
This will help you work out which ones to read.
That's right. So, this feature answers 2 questions. You're looking at the case here, right? We started off looking at toll, and then we went to similarities. So what this does is it indicates to you all the cases which are similar. And similar to what sense? Similar in authorities and similar in facts. So authorities. These cases all share one thing, that they keep going back to the same authority, right? Common law. We always do that. The other thing that they share, facts. Somewhere, somehow, there's a breach of contract, right? And how do I know this? Look at the right-hand side, catchwords. Now, catchwords come from the courts. So when they see they publish a judgment, immediately you've got people and they go, oh yeah, what catchwords do we apply to? Remember Masters and Cameron was a catchword? There they are. So we don't read, we follow the catchwords. So the catchwords come in and we code them. But basically, if it's here, that means all the cases here, the purple and the green ones, they all share, what did I say? Authorities and the facts. There has been a breach somewhere. So, how do we use this? Now, usually it bounces, but I think it's because it's being piped through online to you guys. It's not bouncing at all. We'll bounce it here. Okay. We are in toll. Number 1. Okay? Now, there's a line here. It's a bit faint.
They're very nice.
Yes, you guys will be able to see if you start bouncing your own similarity balls online, okay? So feel free to open up Jade, you guys online, and do it yourself. So what it's doing is it's pointed to Franklin. Remember I asked Catherine, have you guys done Franklin? Forget Franklin breach, right? Franklin is also a good authority.
Yeah, we haven't got to Toll yet, so
Getting excited there. So Toll and Franklin's both share those authorities. Remember I said about Walmart? The cases will always somehow lead you back to the question. Okay? It may not answer the question, but it will give you a map. Alright? And then the other thing you can look at is go, okay, that's pretty cool. The Jade editors done that. So this is a manual. Some poor person had to actually sit there and read the cases and make sure everything's fine.
When you highlight that, is there any way to quickly grab that citation?
What do you mean?
So,
Lewis.
Like that?
yeah. So there's citations that are on.
Yeah, I'm trying to click on it. It's not clicking.
No.
No, okay. Because it's not clicking, can you click on it on your side? You should be able to.
I can click on the main dot.
The main dot? No, not, okay. If you can't click the main dot because it's quite sensitive, what you can do is pull the ball to the side. So what you can do then, you can highlight the balls and then it'll come out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then it'll say, so what I've done is I've highlighted 3 cases. These 3 cases share those authorities. You go read. And we have Catherine's favorite, Imogina's.
I do like the fish.
Do you do?
I'm a big fan of Taylor and Johnson as well, actually.
Keto.
Yeah. And Walton Stores.
But when you look at
If you
that,
ever have a particularly difficult time going to sleep, I suggest that you get deep into Walton Stores and you'll be fine.
yeah, that's crazy. Remember what I said about Cadelpha? Hello, here it is. Imogina's, it also come up. These guys are your stock standard contract breaches. Like that now.
That really is a contract.
It is,
Yes,
it is.
You've just managed to get there.
It's quite something, isn't it? And what did we do? Just go find similarities.
So one of the things, so how could you do, so that case that Dennis has pointed these guys to, Neurospan, how might you look at that, say that and Masters and Cameron together is?
Okay, so Neurospan is here, right? So let's go do this. Neurospan is here. Don't forget the meatballs. Let's go similarity. Let's see what Jade
What
has
other
to
case?
say.
So we know it's got a lot of similarity with Masters and Cameron because it's cited Masters and Cameron 22 times or whatever it is.
And we'll load. And as I said, you guys will be able to bounce a little bit better.
So
It's not bouncing, but if you can grab it.
they never bounce for me. Is it Chrome?
Well, Chrome knows about. I use Chrome. And voila. There you go. Now it's funny, even though it refers to Master and Cameron 22 times, it's not up in here. That's quite something, isn't it? You'd think that shouldn't it be here as well? Well, no. That means that it's been referring to. So remember what I said about Franklin's?
Yes, I thought that might be interesting.
Can you guys see Masters and Cameron there? Please say yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I find that a particularly useful tool, particularly as I probably don't have the most structured approach to research, which will surprise nobody. I often find myself looking by reference to facts because the principles in this area, anyway, and I'm not I'm a practitioner or a researcher, so I'm looking at it like a practitioner. I'm thinking, okay, what's similar in the facts? And then I've got the broad principles already and I know the key cases. So if I go to the facts, couple up with a couple of cases, and then I'm drawing my sort of swipe across, and then when I see the cases that relate to the principles that I'm expecting, that gives me an avenue to drill down. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody be as unstructured as I am by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it is actually worth pointing out that yes, you can take a really linear approach, And there are lots of things that you can do to get there. Another thing I find myself doing quite often, I know broadly what area I'm interested in. I'll go to the textbook, read that. What cases is it citing? Have a look at what's in the footnotes there, and then start plugging in the footnotes backwards, working backwards, seeing what's been cited more recently. You need to take your own approach and do what makes you feel comfortable, that you understand how you're applying the principle. I mean, I think what Sue said before, it's really interesting. I was just, as usual, taking an analogy too far in an MBA class, where I had a class of students recently who were going straight to the solution. And you actually need to spend time with the problem. And I'd give you guys the same advice. I treat the problem like a new lover. I think, in the first 3 weeks of a relationship, like, everything about that other person is interesting. How you care what everybody else thinks about them. You want to know where they've been, what they know, what TV they like, what foods annoy them, everything. That's what you need to do with your problem. You need to treat your problem like a new lover early on. Really get familiar with it. And then you can work into the solution. Because we all know if we go straight to the solution, we can miss things. We make up a new problem. And so really throwing different ideas around makes a lot of sense. You're going to want me to point over there now,
Yes, I
aren't
do.
you? Yes. I thought I was so organised. I'm so happy with how this live streaming is going. And you have a whiteboard tool.
Where?
In the thing. You just have to go up to the top. In fact, I'm just going to create whatever it is on the. So one of the share screens is a whiteboard screen.
Where?
Just hit your share thing at the top. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now just go to new share.
New share. Yep.
Yeah. Pick whiteboard.
Oh, okay. I guess that was old-fashioned.
Of course, it's a little bit harder to draw with a mouse, but at least then it's on the recording. People can see it. I'm pretty sure that when I point over there.
Look at that. That's so ugly. Sorry, online guys.
Well, I've got my pencil.
I can't even type now. I'm so off key. Okay. So what I want to try to do is this. I report to a barrister. He's my boss. And he looks at problems. Most legal practitioners are divergent thinkers. They think like this and then they come back. They're not like me. I'm a very linear thinker. You can say I'm quite boring in that sense. I'm also very risk averse. I might seem very flamboyant, but when I think about problems, I very much am very table driven, very method driven. Right? So one of the things that this barrister, my boss, told me when he was looking at a couple of problems was that he'd look at the problem itself as a universe. Right? So if your problem is the center of the universe, right? So like neuroscience has got a problem. But when you say problem, it's too big. So you break it up. What are the breaches which surround it? Number 1, wrong signature. Number 2, coercion. Number 3, wrong dates. Number 4, essential terms. Now, why do you break it down like this? Because every single breach actually has cases which inform it, doesn't it? Every single one does feed into it. So if you look at the assignment like this, it's less scary. You're actually able to attack it a little bit further. Because at the end of the day, what will happen?
So it's basically, I think the language we'd probably use here to look at this is thinking about it as a group of Iraqs.
Yes, correct.
Because everybody wants a somewhat crazy Middle Eastern country to be in the middle of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you find the links, yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, a list of Iraq, a universe of Iraqs. And you will see that they all converge anyway. Remember when I showed you that table and it's the stock standard contract cases? They all talk to each other. It's not that wide event. But if you break it up, it's less horrible. So if you look at Marisvan, your problem was there's a draft and this sum. So what's your breach? What's the problem there? Is a breach? Is it enforceable? So are the terms clear? Are the terms clear? Not really. Yeah, exactly. So tell me a case which terms are not clear. Okay, it's case X. Where in X? Why is it not clear? Cool. Cool. I need to shut up now before you guys pass on. Is there anything else?
Are you happy if we just turn over to see if there are any questions?
Yeah.
Or any particular problems that somebody wants to search out? Maybe even hit stop share so we can,
Okay.
There you go. Put everybody in the middle, then you'll be there. And that's just kind of freaky when it's just like repeating versions of you. Questions, concerns, frustrations?
A little bit better now about Simon. There are lots of
Feeling
tips.
great about it.
Of course you are.
Somehow, out of everybody in this room, Susie, you are the person I'm least worried about stuff like this one up. Just somehow. Don't know why. Not having to do it would be a major thing. Anyone at home, I muted you all. So those of you at home, there's a couple of thank yous that have come through on the chat. And an awesome. In fact, you should, it pops up there. So
Take a picture of that.
Awesome. So that leaves it to me to say thank you, unless I'm just looking for questions.
No questions.
Oh, Justin, you have a question.
Just to clarify that, you know when you said to approach the problem, so you look at like a case, and then from there you look at all the problems in that case, and then just say, for example, you use Master's Cameron or Franklin, and then from there, once you approach a problem like the assignment one, and you're like, ooh, what are the similarities, like which precedent cases are cited, and then what are the problems that are similar, like any catchwords?
Yeah. This is one way of doing it. That's the walnut hole. Because as I said, if you go, oh my God, look, I've been doing the research for a very long time. So when I say I'm doing it, I actually know what keywords to use anyway. But for when you're starting blind, you just go, man, I don't know where to start. It's just way too much. And that's why I really encourage you to find one case, one boring case that is the wrong case. Okay? Because as I said, a breach is a breach. It's a breach. That's why we saw it.
Well, think about it too from point of view of you've got topics in a subject, just even thinking about the language that we use in the topic headings or the subtopics tends to align with the catchwords quite well as also. So if you remember that we were talking about, essential terms at some point, and I'm sure there was a case that involved, we'll remember all the cases seem to involve parking lots, horses, or going to the cinema, I think. We've got a few of those. Pick the combination of your topic and a fact you remember, even if you don't remember the name of the case, and you can drive yourself back in. And these techniques work in the other databases as well. We exactly the way that Cassie took you into the terms and precedents one. And what's worth trying to get your head around is probably something we need to look at is working out which databases are good for what. So, we didn't look at Ostley today, but often Ostley can be quite good for finding, once you've got the case, going back into Ostley and looking there to see if there are journal articles.
Yes.
So I often, maybe this is my laziness, but I often find it easier to work from the textbook or the journal articles, what people have said about the cases, why they're important as I drill in. Although I do that less now, I can go straight to the paragraphs that matter with Jade and have my own view. But so Ostley can be really good for that, partly because it's quick. I must admit, as a practitioner, other than in certain environments, I don't have access to LexisNexis and Westlaw and stuff like that, or didn't until I came here. So I'm in the habit of going to Ostley first. To be quite frank, you would probably do just as well, if not better, in those databases. And looking at time-based can be really, particularly when you're dealing with statutes, can be a really important part of that process too.
Okay, just want to remind you guys, also is good for really obscure material. Journal articles is great. However, the search field is a bit wonky, so you might get into rabbit for it. Okay.
Actually, do you want to? Can you share that screen so the guys at home can see that? Sorry.
How do you do that?
Just go down to the bottom where the little green arrow is. No, it's just there.
That one, yep.
And just yeah, just desktop 1. I think must be. You must have just.
That's great. Okay, sorry guys. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at Osprey
it's
as
there.
per what Catherine was saying. You can do that and then try to cut your term. So we keep saying about Masters in Cameron. Masters in Cameron itself is a term, search term. You can actually plug it in Masters in Cameron. Now I'm not encouraging that you guys do this. I'm sure you do anyway. But if you type Masters in Cameron in Google, you also find journal articles, and then go to the actual journal article itself and see how the principles have changed across the years. I use Thomson Reuters. I just like the layout a little bit better. So if you go to Westlaw and you go to the left-hand side and look at journals and type in Masters in Cameron, bang, it's on there. That is in about a week ahead. Right? I know you guys, some of you might be doing 24 hours beforehand, but that's one way to think about, where am I going from? What else do I want to do? No, that's good. Can I ask you, how are you preparing the notes? Do you index them? Index them. So what I mean by indexing is,
What do you mean by indexing?
this is a tip I got from a couple of barristers and also hello, having too much fun there. So what I mean by indexing is this, right? So this is a tip I got from a judge. So you guys, I'm not putting this up in there.
I just hit the share.
Okay, so
I just hit clear a second.
right. Okay, what is an index? I actually shorthand write my notes when I study. I don't do, because I believe in body memory. You remember more as you write. So think about this is my book. Okay, so this is my equity book. I'm doing it the top way line when I can actually type this. Come on, guys, it's pretty alright. Okay. yes, it's gonna go. Okay, so what I mean by index. So every single time we go through a topic, you guys are going through a topic, get a tab. And you can do this in Word as well. So that's topic, let's say essential terms. Right? And then all the cases for essential terms. Okay? And then let's say next 5 weeks you do it on I don't know, what do you do it on?
Implied terms.
Sorry?
We go from essential terms to implied terms.
Implied terms, okay. So then implied terms, these are the topics. Can you see what I'm saying? And then in Word document, you can actually do this in table of contents. Go into your exam a little bit better. I'm very surprised that we don't teach students this, but we're so focused on getting you guys through syllabus that we forget about, hey, how do you organize blocks better? So I'll show you a picture of my index because I've been asked to show students in this uni how do I index because people are quite shocked to see that I handwrite. But you can see, equity, 10 cases. Which of directors' responsibilities? 10 cases. So it's easy for you. So the reason I remember cases is because of that. Right? So if you're not doing this at the moment, longhand or on your iPad or whatever it is, start doing it now. Always index. Color-based. You guys are not colorblind. Use that. That will catch you there.
Yeah. It's very hard to work out the best way to do study skills. We talk about them a little bit at the beginning, but nobody's really started yet, and that's kind of such a baptism of fire.
All right, I'm gonna shut up. Thank you guys. Sorry, I already said goodbye. I already said goodbye now. I'm really going. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Let's share some love. There's some happy going on at home. Thank you guys who joined from online. That was, I think we had 12 of you at one stage, so which is a record for me in a class like this. So yeah, we might need to do some live streaming more often. I'll be really interested to get some feedback from you. Thanks guys. See you next Monday or not long after.